So boys and girls, I'm back in the original workshop. Got 3 engines on the bench today, and the weather's absolutely appalling. The weather's stopped for a second so I can actually record this video, thankfully. But we're back out here where we should be. Verno's over there, just gone inside. Yeah, weather is dreadful today. So let's get working on these engines. Pardon me. Sorry if all you can hear is the rain on the roof. I can't really help it. I'm not a meteorologist. But yeah. So this engine here was in Will's boat, right? And this engine was completely seized, completely stuck. We managed to slightly free it off, but then we broke the piston rings whilst trying to get the cylinder back on, yeah? And we were like, fuck this, so we got to use this engine for spare parts. Trying to take this one apart, you can see how much we've beat on it. We've dented the fuck out of it, and it's still stuck in there. We've got the piston down that far, it was up here, but that took like 2 days worth of beating the fuck out of it. Pointless, get rid. Then we've got engine number 3. So this one started off, right, as actually spinning over. Woo! Brilliant. And then we had a few issues with it, sort of thing, like the starter motor was spinning the wrong way and fucked, so we had to get the starter off this one and whatnot. That's cool. We got it spinning over, wouldn't start. I tried bleeding off the injection system, and there was basically, it was going pss, 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 the tiniest amount of fuel ever, right? Trying to figure it out, can't figure it out. And then I've noticed one thing, right? There's this little lever on the side of these fuel pumps, yeah? And you can see, spring loaded, yeah? And on this one, it's attached to this bar, and as you can see, spring loaded. The one on this engine, bear in mind, it's attached to the fuel pump where you've got a fuel issue. You have to really push it down, and then it stays down, and then you have to really pull it back up again. So, I'm assuming in there's something gone wrong, something seized, the seal gone, something in that fuel pump. So I now need to take one out of one of these 2 engines. I'm going to think this engine's going to be the best one, to be honest with you, because this one looks like it's all been taken apart for a while, yeah? And then I'm going to put it in this engine, and hopefully we'll finally have a running engine. Also, I've made my own diesel. It's currently got, well, it's engine oil, petrol mix, 50-50, and I've currently got 2 different sets of carbs soaking in there. That's for the VT500E Classic project, which you may see, and that's for the R5 project. Well, you'll see them both right now, actually, because they are both right here. There's the classic Honda VT500E, here's the second DR5, so obviously you see the main ER5 on the channel, this is number 2. You see the lovely purple colour, beautiful. This now belongs to my friend Reese, but the VT is still mine, and yeah. Good old pitties. I wonder if my fish are up today. Any fish awake today? Hello? No, they're not liking the stormy weather. They're hiding under the lily pads. Good old storm, eh? But, next part of my job anyway, is I need to make a puller to pull these pulleys off. Because we pulled this one off originally, because it wasn't on there. It was actually on this engine. And then, because this engine actually comes with this massive timing gear thing for hand cranking it. So we had to get this massive plate off this engine as well, this big plate and this pulley. But because we put this pulley on, we now have to take it back off again, so that I can get this plate off and get to the fuel pump stuff. Long. And then I've got to do the same thing to this one, get this pulley off as well. And there's got a little rusty grub screw there that I am going to struggle to remove. But it is what it is, boys and girls. Let's get to it. Like a brave, the engine expert! So what I've got to make a puller with so far is this big bit of threaded bar, right? It's got 2 nuts on it, yeah. One I'm going to weld to the top to do it up with, one I'm going to weld to this thing, because this is from an angle grinder, and it just so happens that it fits perfectly through the middle. And then off here I'm going to weld 3 hooks. So far I've got these 2 that I might actually cut in half and have 4, but I'm trying to find 3 identical things to weld onto it that I can turn into hooks to pull these off with. But I kind of want them to be on a pivot, so is something I can weld here to make a pivot with? I don't know. We're going to have a look, aren't we, boys and girls? Now, I've found these 3 studs that I can use as pivots if I can find 6 nuts. So, on the hunt for 6 M8 nuts. Going through this bag of bullshit, and I've managed to find 5. I need 6, but I just cannot find one more in this bag. I've literally gone through the whole thing. It's got my windscreen repair tools in here. It's got random grinding discs, sockets, starter solenoids. It's got everything in this fucking bag. What's in this baggie? Look, there's even got fishing hooks in there. Do you know what I mean? They're actually really nice hooks, saying that. I'll put them to the side. But, yeah. It's got everything in it, apart from a 6th nut. Cannot find one. It's even got hose adapters. It's got a bit of fucking coolant hose from ER5. Okay, look. It's even got toothpaste. There's everything in this bag, but not a 6th nut. I've got a solution, everyone. 5 nuts here, yeah? Right, to make my puller with. Yeah? Right? I need 6. Well, both of these plates have an alternator bracket on their thing. Both of them use an M8 nut. This one's stainless, so I'm going to use a stainless one because fuck it. Will can keep the shit one on his boat. Nah, joking, using that one. Obviously he's going to use a stainless one on the boat. Silly billies! So, I tried getting the 6th nut on, and this is now locked on so hard somehow, yeah, it must be complete different threads, because it's now ripped apart the entire other end, with me trying to grip it in more grips, wherever they've gone there, and then in this fucking shitty vice. Just ripped it apart, so now I need to find another one, and then I need to cut it to get that one off, because that nut's still free, but it's impossible to get off now, and then I still need to find the 6th nut. Fuming. We've got a new stud, we've got the 6th nut, let's get number 5 back off this fuck stud, and then let's weld this shit up. I've just set up my mini welding table so that I can position everything in place and hold it all in place properly. So what's getting welded, the nuts are getting welded to the circle, and then the bars that I'm going to use as the hooks are going to be welded to the studs. So that's calm. And then yeah, got the old MIG ready to go, and you're wondering, why does it look like it's in such a state now, when it's been so good for the past like 7-8 years? Well, I asked my cousin Oscar about that, because he fucking dropped an MX-5 on top of it. So, you know, welders versus MX-5s, the MX-5s win. Welding mask's broke, gotta use this instead. Literally just a bit from the mask, lol. Pretty cool, you can see through it on the camera though. You can see it's green, but it's actually a true colour mask, so you can actually see colours when you're actually welding. It's not actually green like old masks are. So, we built this main bit here, right, which is the main part of the puller. Now I've just got to add the big nut to it for the actual pulling job itself. And now obviously this ain't no professional job, I've literally just slapped this together just so I can fucking get these engines going. You know what I mean? If I wanted a pretty job, I would have just gone out and spent a tenner on a puller, but I ain't doing that. I'm making my own. Self-sufficiency. So I've just got the puller sitting in the pillar drill now, this is my new welding table. I've got to weld this nut to this, so that becomes one solid piece. As you can see, I've got a welder on that seam, and then I've got a welder at the top here to turn this into a bolt, and then that becomes the actual puller, well, the actual bit that will pull itself. Come on. Doesn't look the greatest because it's just a slap up job, but that's on there, she's on. Welded the top nut as well, so that is officially now a pulling arm. Just need to make the actual arms that come off of it now out of these, weld them on, and then we're good to fucking go. Woo! Now I've just cut these, yeah, which are going to obviously weld to these and actually act as the hooks to hook them off, but if I were to cut and weld these into a hook shape, they wouldn't actually be long enough to go over that properly. But if I kept them that length, then they would, but as you can see there's a slight length discrepancy. I'm thinking either I'm going to need longer ones of these to do it, or I'm going to have to find something else to weld as a hook on the bottom of them. So, let's see what we can do, eh? So, what I've now got here instead is 3 Yamaha YBR head bolts. So, these actually clamp the cylinder head and the cylinder down to the engine, but not anymore, they're not. Now they're a flywheel, well, a pillar. Calm. Easy as that. So, all 3 are now hook shapes, as you can see. I've got to go through, fill the whole thing up, weld the whole corner up. Then I've got to quench them so that they're not so soft, and then should be calm. So I'm just welding the arms onto the pillars. You can see they swing, they work, but I've accidentally just fucking I've welded it to the nut by accident. I'm hoping if I get the slicer in there, it will still fucking swing. Gutted, Dinlo, fucking idiot. I'm gonna weld the 3rd one on now anyway, with that one as it is, and then hopefully I can fucking sort it out. Cunt. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this absolute masterpiece. This is a pillar. You do this up here, which then turns inside this nut, which pushes this bolt outwards, which is tapered into that centre, which then pulls these arms back, pulling this off. Woohoo! Now, have I put a grub screw in this? Yes, I have. So I've got to take that grub screw out, and then, actually the grub screw's not touching, so I should be able to just pull this straight off as long as this pillar works. We're about to find out, aren't we? Only a 24. Alright, now I've got to find a 24 before I can do anything. There's a 26 here. Well, the 26 might do it for now. And ladies and gentlemen, would you fucking believe that my homemade puller genuinely, absolutely fucking brilliantly works? But that was the easy one, yeah? Now I got the easy one off, let's try and get the hard one off. got that grub screw undone by pure fucking magic, I think. I had to beat a Torx head into it, but that's off. Fucking right. Now let's try and pull this pulley with the new puller. Now, if my new puller breaks, which there is a chance it will, because this one looks to be pretty fucking corroded on there, then fair fucking play. At least it did the bit that I needed it to, because as long as this one come off, I can carry on with the job. Whereas if this one don't come off, it's not that big of a deal. So, if it's a one-use puller, calm. If it gets this one off as well, I'm going to be over the fucking moon. So, let's see what happens. So, ladies and gents, let's fucking see if this one does it right. Where's the spanner he's doing it? It's a 26. It should be a 24, but I've only got a 26. Will it take off the big, well, the solid pulley, shall I call it? No, it won't. It snaps straight away. Now we know. So, I can remake this design again at a later date, but instead of using these YBI head bolts, it's something stronger, and this probably will hold up. But you can sort of see how it works. It pivots, they hook up behind, and then you pull, and it comes undone. But obviously, without 3 legs, it ain't going to work. But I'm still happy. I still built a puller, and it still worked for the job I needed it to. It just wouldn't take this rusty, crusty one off. But if I use a stronger material for these that isn't head bolts from an engine, then it probably would actually work. But you can see what's happened here as well, is that's completely crystalline, which means that I hardened it too fast, I got it too hot, and then cooled it off too quickly. So next time, I've got to make sure it's not too hard as well. Because with hardening, you've got there's hard, there's anneal, there's loads of different things anyway, long story short. And this was just way too hard. It needed to be softer, but still hardened. So, yeah, that's another issue. But, yeah, no, I've fixed this engine anyway. Now, I've got to get this plate off. And to get it off, I've got to undo this this oil pressure sensor, because the pressure sensor is actually out here, which is a threaded insert in this plate, which is weird as fuck, but it's the exact same on this one. As you can see, it's like welded and inserted. But, yeah, weird, but that's the design of it. That's how it's staying. So I've got to take that off, to take this plate off. I've got to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts off, and I've got to take the fuel line either off this agglomerator up here or down there. Just got to take this hose off somewhere. And then I'm going to take this plate completely off, and then we can start disassembling fuel pump and stuff. So as I've started undoing this one at the top here, this one's come out at the bottom, and it looks like the fitting itself has actually failed. So might have to get a brake pipe flaring tool or something to actually redo that with. Annoying as fuck. So ladies and gents, we have the front plate off, woo! Which reveals the problem I was on about. This arm here is stiff as fuck, and it doesn't return by itself. On the engines like these ones, you see, they're spring loaded, easy to push up like that. And the problem is it's not getting fuel, and it's next to the fuel pump. I don't actually know what this does, but all I know is it's clearly broken, and the fuel pump is broken somewhere, so I'm assuming this is mainly the biggest part of the issue. So yeah, fun times. But I'm going to leave it here for this video, because I don't think it's going to be running today. Where that's snapped, I can't actually run it, because that's going to shoot all the oil out. It's not going to make any oil pressure. So yeah, make sure you subscribe, because next time this engine is going to be running, or at least one of these things will. We've got to move this water pump, over to this engine next time, whatnot as well. And if you're lucky, we may even fit it to the boat and go fishing. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for next time when we get this engine actually running. Subscribe now, or I'm going to put your head in that drill press, yeah, right, and I'm going to show you how to brush your teeth nicely. Goodbye.